there is a different badly made video for the Last Stand series. This is just every other game on their website. Crush the Castle 1. Oh wow, this thing was not made for full screen mode. As I would like to note, this actually came out before the first Angry Birds. Same launcher type gameplay, but a trebuchet instead of a slingshot. It takes a little longer to get used to, considering the slightly more complicated physics. I mean, if this thing had a more colorful art style, it might have had a bigger history in the mobile market. Who knows. We start with a small rock, and every 3 levels we get a very slight upgrade. From a small rock, 3 small rocks, medium rock, 3 medium rocks, big rock, 3 big rocks, a bomb, and 3 bombs. You have 5 shots for every level, and the slightest movement will cause the enemy to basically give up. You may start to notice that all of the walls can't actually be crushed. They are indestructible. So are the corpses. This is going to be a lot more annoying later on. As the rocks get bigger, the main material of the castle starts to get stronger. It is now stone. Okay, this was built specifically to be knocked down. This isn't on me. See how these 2 knights die from the concept of them falling. That is not enough layers to stop me. I think the biggest problem I have with this game is that most of the projectiles just feel rather flimsy. I think it really just depends on the level. Oh, I like where this is going. Here I am just making fun of the king's weight. My god, how does you higher? These guys plus the tower are just slightly beyond my range. Tower down, now they're dead. Okay. Maybe the walls aren't attached to each other because they couldn't find nails strong enough to pierce them. Oh wait, couldn't they just use rope? And this is actually quite the pile up. Thank god the slightest tap can kill these guys. The bomb has a lot of force, but our main enemy now is just a lot of pile ups. Okay, that was a very lucky lift up there. The structure for the queen and the princess are far sturdier than they look. Getting one of them usually means not having enough bombs for the other. I could not tell you what I did specifically there. Oh god. That wasn't so bad. What was I afraid of? That's a nice domino. The last level here doesn't look that bad either. Never mind. The princess is under a bunch of indestructible layers, and the upper floors collapsing just create more. Okay, that was just luck. Crush the castle too. Alright, we start with a log this time. And, oh my god, we destroyed some of the walls. We can actually crush some of the castle. And the enemy bodies turn into smaller gravestones. Okay, this is a great improvement. Another big difference is that we no longer get 5 shots for every castle. We now have a gold medal to work towards. And that usually just means we need the minimum amount of shots in order to actually crush the castle. Usually 1. This isn't all for nothing, you get a special ammo type if you get all the gold medals. The progression of the first continent is very similar to the first games. It's a log, 3 logs, a rock, 3 rocks. Oh come on, a metal ball. Look, the knight no longer dies from being slightly pushed, and 3 metal balls. So after a bunch of heavy stuff, we now get to use bombs. Okay, these guys place a bunch of explosives next to the castle, and in important structural points too. This is on them. The bombs now have their own progression system. As I would like to note, it is very satisfying to actually be able to destroy the walls, especially with the larger blast radius of the bombs. The metal walls seem to remain indestructible for now, but we can still just knock stuff over. This is rather precarious, isn't it? The long fuse bomb doesn't explode on impact and is used for some rolling downhill puzzles. The parachute bomb can be stopped mid-air and it will slowly sway downwards. Okay, this king just straight up wants to die. The remote bombs have to be manually activated. Third continent. A wizard is helping us. He doesn't actually do magic, it's much closer to just alchemy. First off, he gives us some Molotovs. Okay, this is surprisingly a precise shot. Got it. The wood is just slowly burning. In the next one, we get to burn some people. Pretty sure this is a war crime. This is definitely a war crime. Next we get ears in a jar. Conducts on metal and sends a big enough shock that people would explode. Okay, come on, this is not a hard shot. This seems like a different war crime. Next is instant ice. This one may actually be magic. It makes things much more brittle so bombs can destroy them much easier now. Metal is no longer indestructible. This guard dies from the structure 6 meters under him being frozen. Finally, just straight up acid attacks. Everything under the wall it hits will start to corrode and be destroyed. I mean, the acid doesn't really affect the people, just the structures, but I'm pretty sure that this is also a war crime. I think this wizard is just Kissinger. I swear to God, the third last level, the ballroom, is just luck. You know what? I don't need all the gold medals. Wait, never mind. I need all the gold medals for the special ammo type. Damn it, I have to do the ballrooms. That is a much spikier trebuchet. Yeah, I have no idea what I did different. Let's see what this purple bottle does. Sinmark. From what I can tell, Sinmark is con artist's earliest public game. You're an archer dude, going around destroying portals that spawn red goblins and other red stuff. You can gather runes at these spots to get some spells and maybe some trinkets from the monsters. I only managed to get 2 this run, and one of them had the effect to increase the trinket drop rate, so I effectively had 1. I guess the best descriptor I could give for this game would be scrappy. The fights, the number balancing, and the visuals seemed like they were made by a person that was figuring out things along the way. They definitely intended for you to fight as an actual archer. It's just a lot better to get up close and spam arrows as fast as you can. The only point where I actually shot long was during the final boss, where I kinda had to because the lower body just didn't have a hitbox. Your character also seems to have a lot more HP than you would expect. I think this was made to offset the fact that you would often just need to stay still and gather at these loot things while getting pelted by super accurate goblin arrows the entire time, and there really isn't a reliant way to recover health, so I think they just increase the player's HP by a bunch. Final boss is a fat dragon thing, and in this 20-ish minute game, it ends in a "there's more to see" cliffhanger, and it never got continued. Juggerdome. You're a prisoner that pilots a mech warrior in rounds against other prisoners. You start fighting guys with pistols, and eventually start fighting hordes of other mechs. You get money between rounds and upgrade your mech with new weapons. Honestly, I don't have much to say about this game. Nothing really stands out too much. There's 11 levels and it takes 20 minutes to beat. If you're fighting a regular guy, you can just run him over. You beat the final boss, which is just an extra big mech, by spinning around him. The Warfare games were probably con artist's second most well-known games. Lane-based World War themed strategy games. Well, I say lane-based, but it was mostly in the second one. There was apparently only one big lane in 1914. You start with some basic rifle units and a trench. Only 3 squads can ever be in one trench. Anything after that is just forced out into the open. Don't mind the XP gain. The only significant amount that we are going to get is from the bonus EXP anyway. You win by either getting to the other side or killing enough enemies that you deplete their morale completely and they surrender. The first level is just basic soldiers on both sides, and we are the only ones with a trench. You can spend your level on some upgrades, they're mostly just numbers. Level 2, grenade troops and some mortar support. The enemies also have a trench now, so you can't just charge. Mortars and other support types are the main way to clear trenches, unless you want to throw an ungodly amount of bodies at the problem. Here's the thing. I'm playing as the British in World War I. This is exactly what is going to happen. Level 3. Okay, so the main problem with some of the more expensive troops is that they aren't really worth it. Every single ground unit shares a cooldown. And the gunner squad is 2 people, and they have a fairly long cooldown, while only really being good on defense. I'm not gonna use them much, it's a lot better to just spam troops. Level 4. We don't get anything new for the 4th battlefield. It's just 2 trenches and a barbed wire field in between. You can get through this level real quick. Level 5. Snipers have the same problem as the gunner, but worse. It's only 1 guy this time, it has a longer cooldown, and it's still only really good on defense. Artillery is stronger mortars but slower. Thankfully the supports don't share a cooldown. As a note, supporting fire is the only thing in this game that can cause friendly fire. And then we eventually just get a lucky artillery shot. Level 6. We get the officer and the war crime support. I mean, it wasn't declared a war crime yet, but the council did later decide that it really needed to go on the international ban list. The poison gas is the best trench clearer, solely based on the fact that it's the most accurate one. The officer is a mustachio dude that can buff nearby units. In exchange, you lose a lot of morale if they die. Watch out for landmines. Level 7. The land ship, or the very early tank. Slow as hell, longest cooldown, plummets morale when they are destroyed, but immune to anything that doesn't explode. The Germans are getting them as well, so this level is basically whose support can hit the tanks first. Level 8. We get anti-tank support. It kills tanks. Lots of trenches and barbed wire on this field. But both sides have tanks now, so it really depends on whose tanks dies first. and it's the Germans. Quickly send the ground troops in, and that is quite lucky that they just ignored the second tank there. Last level. The only trenches are deep in German territory, and there is a lot of barbed wires and landmines in between. Alright, tank on. Oh, that died quickly. Well, at least we got theirs too. All of our ground troops just died to landmines. Okay, have I gotten worse? I don't remember losing to any of these levels when I was younger. Forget the ground troops, I guess. I'm just gonna wait for the tank each turn and spam the supports. That worked. Easily, in fact. So that's how younger me did it. Alright, let's do the German campaign. It's supposed to be the hard mode. It's not that different. There's some change upgrades. We get a slightly different troop progression. There's also one level where the British get the tanks first while we don't have any. Historically accurate, I guess. Although we had anti-tank supporting fire at the ready. I get the tanks again at the second last level, and just repeatedly spam them to victory. Sometimes I have to send a lot of them. Warfare 1944. There is quite a lot of improvements between these two games. 3 lanes now instead of one large battlefield. Soldiers can now shoot at adjacent lanes but not lanes 2 away. You can only get a ground victory through the center lane. If you manage to get troops through on the side lanes, all that does is count as a flank and lowers the enemy's morale. Soldiers no longer share a cooldown. They each have individual ones now. As a way to stop spamming, you now need to spend some supplies to be able to deploy them. You get 200 supplies roughly every 3 seconds. The cheapest troops are 200 and the tank is 800. Support abilities are now tied to the officers. You have to spend upgrades to get them and spend supplies to use them on the field. I focused most of my upgrades on troops, so I ended up not using much support. There are no more trenches here. It's mostly World War II urban combat. The American campaign just starts with D-Day. You blow up a gunner in a bunker with one of the new units, and you finish the level. The bazooka is mainly here because supports are no longer free, and they kind of had to give you an easy to use anti-armor unit. Second level. It's back to basics. The best way to get enemies out of cover now is to just swarm them from multiple lanes. Third level. We get the sniper and the officer back. They are still solo squads, which is a bit silly here considering that only one squad can be behind one piece of cover. So 2 snipers can't be side by side because I guess they all hate each other. Anyway, we win. 4th level. These are the only equipment upgrades that I bought. My rifle and assault squads can now use grenades. They cost 50 per use. Like, the grenades are somewhat useful, but the plane is just really expensive and it doesn't really do that much. The middle lane is often the one with the least amount of cover, meaning you basically have to support it with the troops on the side lanes. Pretty sure that was the bazooka that killed it, but the plane was just really well timed. Level 5. Mortar teams are a new unit, replacing the mortar support. A super long range guy that is the only troop that doesn't always move forward. Most of the time anyway. Level 6. We get our tanks back. Full on regular main gun cannon this time. Tanks can't go into lanes with solid cover, so the first level that uses them has no cover whatsoever. We start with max supplies, so we are sending one out immediately. Afterwards, sending a bazooka as support. Okay, me and the bad guys had the exact same ideas. The tank fight ends in a draw, but their bazooka guys win. The firing squads are on their way to give them their prize. Wait, is the firing squad just gonna make it to the end? This went on for a while. Level 7. Got an upgrade that made my troops 20% cheaper. So now my supply numbers are weird. We are fighting in the graveyard. There is hard cover in every lane, so no tanks this time. Level ends pretty quick. The enemy doesn't really send that many troops, so we can just rush most of these levels. The last level is kind of the opposite of the others. The side lanes have no cover whatsoever, while the middle has a bunch. We can't as easily overwhelm the middle anymore, seeing as they now have the advantage. Artillery and enemy supporting fire is also everywhere. Still though, didn't really take that long. We just overwhelmed their top lane twice and their morale just collapsed. Alright, on to the villain campaign. Yeah, it's roughly the same. Similar to the first game's 2 campaigns. The biggest difference being that, I swear, each individual bad guy squad is weaker than their American counterparts. They never win a fair 1v1. You have to gang up. I swarmed a lot more playing the villains. Well, that's all of them. These were cool games. Felt very mid to late 2000s. Definitely gives the feeling of some dude just getting into game dev. But they were nice. Oh yeah, the Warfare games had like a Dead Zone equivalent. It was free and on Steam, so I'm sure it was a fine game, combined with very pressuring monetization, similar to Dead Zone. If we're going back to the Flash era, the military commander game that I was much more into was Mud and Blood 2. Mud and Blood was real fun.